I recently realized that I have not done a stablecoin yields video in forever. And so I felt like it was due time for me to do another one. And so here we are. So these are the best stablecoin yields that I am currently seeing in the market and that are risk adjusted in my opinion. And so let's just dive right in. Now, it's important to note that when I do my stablecoin research and when I'm looking for yields, I'm looking for two major types of yields. One is, of course, like the leveraged high APR yield. For these, the really important things to know are like your oracle risks. Are you using NAV oracles? Are you using market rate oracles? Is there deep enough liquidity to jump in there and not immediately dilute the opportunity? Who is curating the opportunity? So if you are like on a Morpho or an Euler, is the curator trusted? Are they going to keep filling up liquidity if it gets all used? And then, of course, like what is the yield bearing asset and do you trust it? I know it's a bunch of stuff, but that's the sort of thing that I'm considering when I'm looking for leveraged yield-bearing stablecoin or YBS yields. Then the other kind that is, I think, often overlooked is non-leveraged, for me, often USDC in, USDC out yields. Now, what I mean by non-leveraged is like a lend side opportunity. So you're just lending USDC to like an Aave or lending USDC to Morpho. You can put your USDC in, it grows slowly, then you can pull your USDC out. Why are these so important? Because if you need to unwind or deleverage a position quickly and you don't have stables on side to do that, to pay down that debt, to just like deleverage sort of with a few clicks, you will have to unwind loop after loop after loop. And sometimes if you're doing that with the DPEG situation or if you're doing that through thin liquidity, you can eat a huge loss unnecessarily. But if you have a big stack of stables on the side, farming maybe a 7 to 15% APR, unleveraged in a lend side position, you can just take those out, pay down your debt, unwind your leverage, and you're good to go. So I always have a big stack stable sort of in those leveraged positions, sort of waiting on hand to jump in and jump out when I need to. So those are the two major types of yields we're going to go through. Let's just get right to it. The first one I wanted to highlight only because their token should go live in I think 5 days, is Summerfy. Summerfy Earn, this is a new product. A lot of you guys may have remembered my videos from Summerfy Pro days. Summerfy Earn is just a bunch of lending aggregators. So basically these are lending, in this case like USDC or USDT, let's just do all stables, and they're doing all the work for you. So you're getting between like a 5 to 11%, which is pretty good for lending, but you're also getting a 9 to like 25% APR in SUMR. Now, okay, the token hasn't gone live yet, so we don't actually know the valuation of the FDV. I have been assuming the lowest de facto FDV they have on here, which is 150 million. I think that's reasonable because there's like $3 billion of AUM in Summerfy Pro. There's $100 million of TVL in Summerfy Earn, and it's like ex MakerDAO team, highly MakerDAO aligned. I think there's a good chance this has at least 150 million FDV. But if you think it has less, you can just edit this. You can make it go 50 million. And even at 50 million, which would be an abysmally low estimate, you're still getting 14% to lend USDC. So I think that's great. It's USDC in, USDC out, and it's a pretty decent yield. So I think this one is kind of slept on and underrated. You're also getting Sonic points here, technically. So there's like the additional benefit of points for some sort of seasonal airdrop there. So that is Summerfy Earn. The other one I wanted to show you, which is a lending side, is actually kind of hidden. It's on the Binance Smart Chain. This is kind of fun. This is USD1. So USD1 is World Liberty Financial's stablecoin, which is, okay, let's go to lend, which is like the Trump sort of protocol thing. And right now they are highly incentivizing USD1 usage. It's also weird that USD1 is so Binance aligned, which is like, not what you would think from, the American president's stablecoin, but lending right now is 35% APY, which is kind of silly. So lending is 30. Oh, let's go over to the lend. Thought it was on lend already. And then supply APY, 35%. Now, caveat, this is paid in Royal. Royal is the reward token for Euler. So it's the reward oil governance token. It does have a 6-month vest, or you can take a 75% haircut and realize immediately. Here's why you might want to vest. If you look at this sort of chart of Euler, of the oil token, if you take the 75% haircut, you are missing out on all of this potential price action. So the only reason to take the haircut, in my opinion, is if you think that over 6 months, the oil token will go down by 75%, because then you would be break even. So if you think that the Euler token will go down by 75%, you should definitely be taking the haircut. If you think that it's more likely that it will be at least worth more than a 75% discount, then you should hold it to vest. That's just the EV calculation there. So if you think it will be more likely that it will not lose 75% of its value, you should vest it. If you think it will lose 75% of its value, then you should immediately realize it. It's as simple as that. It's a very easy math game. So people who were like getting the yields here at 45% and now it's here, they have 3x'd nearly their total APR from back then. So they were getting like a 50% royal APR here, 6 months later, now that was worth like 150% APR. So good for them. The investors definitely won in that case. So just one consideration with the Euler rewards. And you can loop and leverage that, but really right now I want to focus on lend side, and then we'll go to the leverage sort of crazy APRs. Another lend side one I like is the Gauntlet USD Alpha. This is brand new. Gauntlet released this new product called USD Alpha. If you guys know Gauntlet, they're a phenomenal curation team. Like, yes, they fight with Aave every now and again, but that's not my battle. They're just an amazing curator on Morpho. They're fantastic. They always have like just-in-time liquidity available. They have super deep liquidity. And in this Gauntlet USD Alpha, you are getting a 7.76% APY. Now, maybe that's not like super attractive to you, but check this out. The receipt token is GTUSDA. Now, if you're a thinking man, you might say, oh, okay, I'm getting a USD receipt token for this, like a yield-bearing stablecoin, and this is also mostly lending onto Morpho. There's a good chance we might see GTUSDA on Morpho as a leverageable asset, and if Gauntlet is curating that, I could see like a 15% really nice USDC in, USDC out stablecoin opportunity happening, because that's the way it works. You deposit USDC, you withdraw USDC. It may take 12 hours up to withdraw, but that's a really short time to withdraw. So I like this. I'm going to keep my eye on it. You can only deposit on Base right now. I think they'll have deposits open on mainnet. Hopefully in the future, they're like Base aligned, I imagine. But I'm definitely keeping my eye on this one. I think it'll be good. Another one that I think is this one's more degen, this one's a little bit more up the risk curve, is Peepods. So Peepods allows anyone to spin up a borrow and lending market, and the APYs are nuts. But the caveat is you can get wrecked if any of these markets explode, right? So they're isolated, which is a good part, unless you're using the Meta Vault. The Meta Vault sort of deposits for you into all these isolated markets and gives you a nice sort of aggregate APY. If you deposit directly, you do run the risk of like the market blowing up and then you not being able to withdraw USDC, or like waiting until new liquidity comes in there. So do keep that in mind. But like 49%, 50%, pretty good. But this is way riskier than your average lend position. You have to understand that. You can't just say, oh, okay, so lending on Gauntlet is 7%. Lending on Peepods is 50%. That's the exact same. It's both lending. No, it is not. Gauntlet is one of the most trusted curators in the entire space. You are lending into their vault. They have insanely deep liquidity. That is not the same as lending onto Peepods against long Ps or against, it's a completely different calculus, and you should not treat these things the same. I just want to really reiterate that and drive that home. If you get blown up in this position, I do not want you crying to me saying, but you told me about this. You said this was so good. I did not say that. I said this is a super high risk version of a lending pool. That's all I'm saying. I've said this phrase a lot, USDC in, USDC out. There's a couple more that I really like for my liquid portion of my holdings. Another one is Infinifi. So Infinifi has their senior tranche. Senior tranche means it also has a big sort of insurance layer of junior tranche. If there's any sort of underlying strategies in the Infinifi product that sort of take a hit from their peg, or like they have some strategies that took a loss, that gets eaten by the junior tranche first. So you actually have this built-in insurance layer. And then on top of that, you're getting an 8.9% APY plus points, and it's USDC in. If you want to exit, go to portfolio, it's USDC out. So I love that one-to-one, no swap fees. That's amazing. You can also leverage this, I think, on Morpho. You can definitely leverage the PT. I don't know if you can leverage just like SIUSD. So SIUSD is a staked version of IUSD, but you can unstake it immediately and then withdraw to USDC whenever you want. So I like that. If you don't mind a little bit of duration risk, you can check this 1 week, 4 week, or 8 week sort of cool down. I call it a cool down because it's not really a lock period. It's not like you deposit and then you're locked in for 1 week, or you deposit, you're locked in for 4 weeks. The way it works is you deposit and then you choose when you want to exit. You could wait 5 years and then choose you want to exit. When you choose you want to exit, then you start the cooldown process. And even if you choose 8 weeks, for that entire 8 weeks, you will be getting your yield. I love that about these LIUSD products. And we should also see LIUSD on Morpho soon. Imagine leveraging like a 15% yield against like maybe a 10% borrow cost. Awesome. Love it. So that's Infinifi. They also have a big points program. Sort of side note, this is the first YT that I bought since I think Etherfi season 2. So I actually am kind of bullish on their points program, at least at the current I1 on Pendle, but that's the total aside, not what you're watching this video for. One more sort of liquid deposit position that I like, which is market neutral USD on Etherfi. But there's a special reason why I like this. The special reason why I like this is because currently Etherfi is running this like cash something earn deposit. I don't know what it is. It's a campaign for their cash card. Now I use their cash card, but the way it works is you can actually use market neutral USD, also called liquid USD, as your collateral. So you can have a 10%, and actually the campaign gives you another 5%, so 15% APR on your checking account. That's nuts. So I'm getting 15% APR on my checking account, and they give you 5% cash back for this campaign. So 5% cash back, 15% APR on my checking account. It is much better than my credit card at those rates. So that's what I've been using. Like it is beating my points for like my American Airlines or whatever card. So I like this. It's a very specific value proposition. So it's like if you want a checking account in DeFi that you can fill in through your wallet, if you want to get that APR while you're spending, if you like that cash back, like all of these things sort of have to be aligned for you to like this. For me, they were perfectly aligned, so I definitely use this. It's great. You can also spend against like Bitcoin and ETH, but that's not what we're talking about, so I'm not going to dive too deep into that. So now let's move to sort of like leverage. When I'm leveraging, as I mentioned, you have to know your underlying asset. You have to look for deep liquidity. You have to sort of look at the oracles. And I think I might have already said that. The best places for me to look have been Morpho, Euler, and obviously Contango. Contango is a great jumping off point. We're going to look there first. So I call Contango a great jumping off point because you can go there and you can sort of see where all the opportunities are. Then you can determine, do I want to auto leverage on Contango or do I want to manually leverage on the underlying platform and protocol? Now, the benefit of auto leveraging is you can be way more capital efficient. You don't need to have all that idle capital sitting by to close your position. The detriment is you're eating swap fees to enter, you're eating swap fees to exit, you're eating protocol fees to enter, you're eating protocol fees to exit. You do not want to open a Contango position for 1 month. You want to be in there for 2 months. You want to be in there for 3 months to really ROI, make sure you're well in the profit before closing. And you want to make sure there's insanely deep liquidity. So when you exit, you're not swapping through illiquid pools because that can wreck you. So I would say Contango is fantastic if you have a long-term bias. So if you're like, leveraging up an August PT or a September PT or an October PT, that's when you want to use Contango. If you're looking for like a 1 month yield, you do not want to be using Contango, in my opinion, unless you get like huge fee rebate because you're holding a lot of Tango or whatever it is. So here, what I do is I go to amount to invest and I put in $1 million. Now I am not going to invest $1 million. I don't have $1 million to invest yet. One day, hey, we're all getting there, right? And then I do 20% ROE. ROE is just their version of APR. Now here, you can sort of see what is not dilutable because you said $1 million principal. So this is saying how much principal you could put in there, not how much notional, how much principal you could put in there and at what APR you would get. Some of these are really good. I don't know how this one is so good. So Syrup USDC on Morpho. We'll look at this one when we go to Morpho because that's like the second place. This is my jumping off point. This is sort of where I start my research. Then we have PTIUSD for August. I actually do like this one. I like it because deep liquidity. You could deposit $22 million at 10x leverage. That's insane. That means there's millions and millions and millions to borrow. That's a great opportunity. 32% APR. It's Morpho. I like it. Stake level also pretty good. 30%. You can deposit $2 million, which means there's like 10 million. There's 19-ish million dollars of available liquidity. That's great. Ones I would not deposit into. I would not deposit into PTSUSD 31st of July. That has roughly 1 month to go. As I mentioned, you don't want to be using an auto leverager for a 1 month time horizon. It's just not typically positive. So anything in July, I would not be touching. No. But maybe yes. So August, I like that. That gives me a few months. I'm comfortable with that. September, I really like that. I think there were a couple Septembers maybe down here. No, none of them have popped up yet. But there are a few September markets that we'll look at on Morpho. But this is this is sort of what I'm thinking about when I'm looking at this. Also, some of these have points. So like S level USD, you're actually getting points on top of the yield. So maybe you're getting a 30% yield plus you're getting points. Do you remember it's like 5 bips times notional? So if you're 10x leverage, that's like 50 bips to enter, 50 bips to exit. You're going to eat a 1% fee between your opening and exiting costs. So sort of discount that when you're looking at this APR. Consider that and understand that before you open up. All right. So now let's actually look at Morpho. And you can see I was looking at that level USD earlier. So LVL USD. I asked them if they had a dark mode because Morpho V2 or whatever. No, Morpho V2 is coming, but Morphoblue had a dark mode and then they updated the UI and I have not for the life of me been able to find dark mode. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm dumb. Maybe it's super obvious. I don't see it. It's not in chains. It's not under my wallet address. Oh, here it is. Here it is. I was an idiot. Look at that. Oh, my eyes. This is so much better. Okay, so I was an idiot, and now I found it. This is wonderful. Okay, so what do I look for? I go to the borrow tab. This is sort of where you see what there is to borrow, and it should typically, you can also see my PTIUSD position here. This has been a great position. I got in at 10% fixed. I'm borrowing at a 6.65, 10x leverage. It's like a 46% APR. I've been in this for over a month now, month and a half, and it has been awesome. So that was really good. I should have exited though when the CUSDL was over peg. Really dropped the ball on that one. Probably lost about a potential 1.5% ROI. But what are you going to do? You know, that happens. You don't always get home runs, but this has still been a really good position. I've probably been netting around 40% APR on that. Now, this one here. I really like this one. This is PTIUSDS, but there are some caveats. So $70 million of DAI to borrow is so good. The borrow cost is 3%. It's curated by Gauntlet, who you guys already know. I love. It's also curated by Spark, and Spark tends to be depositing into these pools pretty aggressively. Caveat, only a 4.7% fixed rate on the PT. So not huge, but still it's like a 36% net APR. So 36% net APR on this PT is really good. Also, you can see this on Contango, I'm pretty sure. PTIUSDS right here. They're saying 22%, but they're only doing 16x leverage. You can actually do 25x leverage. I probably wouldn't do that in case the interest rates go against you, but you could, right? And so you can get up to 36%, or you can get up to 40% at 25. I was doing like 36% at 20. But let's go back there and look at this. So those are the good things, right? The good things are it's a fixed rate, fixed date on the collateral. It's a low borrow cost. It's super deep liquidity. It's the second deepest market on all of Morpho. But, and here's the kind of annoying part, you can't enter and exit USDS atomically with DAI. So you will have to convert DAI to USDS through liquidity. You'll have to buy USDS or buy the PT. Now, buying the PT is not that bad. I think we're all sort of used to this mechanism of buying the PT. It's exiting. So if you're 20x leverage, you're going to take the swapping fees and slippage on 20x your notional. And so if you're eating 10 bips, that's a 2% potential hit on your principal you might take when exiting. That is pretty substantial. Now, if you're, of course, at like 36% APR, it's not that bad, but it's almost 3 weeks worth of yield. So you really want to have a long time horizon. You don't want to be aping in and aping out. And those are the things that I would personally be considering when opening and entering a PTIUSDS. Now, there are other PTs that I'm not so scared about. Here's one that I'll show you. As I mentioned before, so they don't have just basic SIUSD yet. But PTIUSD, September. You guys already know that I'm super excited about that because it's super long dated. It's all the way until September. We're having a good time. 10x leverage, 91.5% LTV. It's like, I think it's 11.6 repeating or whatever. Leverage, I would only do 10, even though I'm pretty sure it's a fundamental oracle or a linear oracle. 7.28% borrow cost. So this is going to get you around 40% APR. You're getting 40% APR and you're in USD. As a reminder, when you exit this position, when you convert that PT to IUSD, you can then take that IUSD and redeem it one-to-one for USDC. No slippage, no swap fees. That is huge to me because I've played this game before, right? You know that what is it? Squid Games? I've played these games before. Yeah, I played these games before. I know what it feels like to exit a 20x leverage position on a stablecoin that you can't convert to USDC. It is painful and it will eat up your ROI before you know it. So instead, I like these sorts of plays where I can take USDC in, I can exit with USDC out, and I didn't do any swapping, didn't need any fees. Now, there are some caveats. You do have to purchase the PT. Now, purchasing the PT, you may have some price impact on the PT or on the IY. So instead of like a 10.5% fixed, maybe you're getting a 9.8% fixed. And that will affect your overall ROI, but it won't affect your exit. When you exit your position and do realize that ROI, that is the ROI you've gotten, of course, net of like gas costs, but gas costs hopefully won't be that bad. So also Stakehouse is curating. I love Stakehouse. They're a fantastic curator. So I'm really happy there as well. So I like this one. It looks like there's only 100K liquidity left. Yesterday there was 5 million. So I would just keep your eye on it. Again, I like Stakehouse as a curator. I do anticipate they'll fill this back up, but maybe you don't want to jump in this right now. That's just me, right? I don't jump in anything with less than 1 million. Yesterday I had 5 million. Today it has 100,000. I would wait until that fills back up. But of course, that's just the way that I do my research. There's a couple other ones like the PT syrup that I like. Let's see if it pops up. Yeah. So they were saying this one was giving like, I don't know, whatever it was, 65 or whatever APR. I am skeptical that that's actually the true APR You'll have to find Syrup's actual APR. There's a site for this, and I bet I can find it. So there's a really cool site. Actually, it's in Maple. It's my my Telegram chat. The Telegram trenches are where you want to be for like all of the crazy research. Now, of course, I get a major benefit because of my status as a talking bald man, so I can talk to the founders a lot. But this is it. Vaults.fyi. By the way, Vaults.fyi is a fantastic product itself. So right now it's saying the 7-day base yield is 6.36%. I am not going to extrapolate that to whatever they're telling me on Contango, but maybe there was a big spike in APR. Let's do 1 day. Yeah, I don't know. It's the exact same. So I'm skeptical, and usually Vaults.fyi is a good sort of source of truth on that. So this would probably be like, I don't know, a net nothing. You wouldn't be gaining anything except for Syrup points, which convert to Syrup or Syrup drips. But the PT is really good. And I'd be looking at this one. It's got less liquidity. It has a higher borrow rate. Let's see. Here's another PT, 1.13. This is even better. And it's got Stakehouse, so I like that. So 1.13. This one's pretty good. And it's August. So let's go look at that PT. I think it's at 9% or it's around there. This is pools. I want to go to markets. Then I want to go to Syrup. Okay, 8.91. So 8.91 against 4.95. That's going to be nice. So I'll just tell you 8.91 times 10 minus 9 times 4.95. It's a 44.5% APR. That's good. Only $1 million of liquidity there. So like it could get eaten up quickly, but I do like that one. It's pretty good. This one up here is decent, but you can only get 5x leverage. So 5x leverage, I'll tell you what it is. It's so 8.91 times 5 minus 4 times 6.77. It's 17%. That's not bad, but for a leverage position, I don't know. The benefit, of course, is that there's $10 million or $9.5 million of liquidity in there. That's pretty good. So, it's kind of like a risk reward. Do you want to go with the lower liquidity where you could get diluted? You could end up with a negative trade, but you're getting 2.5 times the APR, or do you want to go with a way deeper liquidity with half the APR? I would say it's up to you. This one is probably more consistent. You'll probably be able to stay in it at a positive APR for a longer time. And these two, there's a better chance that you'll end up with this, which is this 9.13, which is actually a negative loop. So whoever's in this right now is running a negative loop. And one thing to know here is that they'll show you the average APR. If you want to know what the APR is right now, go to advanced and look at the instantaneous. So you'll see the instantaneous is actually higher than the borrow rate. Now, there's one more thing you can do, which is go and look at the average. So even this, the average 1 month is 10.02. So I'm definitely not entering this. Some other positions are way easier to sort of estimate. And so, yeah, my hands are not touching that. But there's a few more that we got to look at. First, look at Euler. So I've showed you sort of what I do on Morpho, sort of how I look at that, how I analyze that, and a couple of good opportunities. On Euler, we looked at sort of lending. Let's look at borrowing. Now, there are some crazy APRs for like USD1 because of that 35% royal. But remember, you're only getting 2% native or 1.55% native APY. So you're running a negative trade, technically, but you're racking up those royal. Now, if that's what you want to do because you have a really long bias on Euler, this is one of the best ways to do it. If you want a positive trade, you're probably either going to have to hop over to mainnet or only enter with very, very tiny size on like one of these, like SUSDX against USD1. That's a great positive trade. It's only $1.6 million to borrow. So it's not bad. I also don't know if you can enter and exit these things easily. And those are all the things that I would look at before aping. But let's look at mainnet because there are some good trades over there. Okay, so this is super easy because you can just click collateral asset USD, debt asset USD, and then it'll just show you all of the sort of dollar-denominated yields. Now, it looks like USD is getting a lot of attraction right now. I think it's because of Euler swap. So Euler swap has been like really dramatically shifting these APRs around. Yeah, so the lending APY is really high. What I'd be looking for is something a little bit more consistent, like RLUSD, maybe against RLUSD, but only $1 million to borrow because RLUSD is Ripple's, and Ripple has been incentivizing via Merkle for the past month and a half. It's been really good. But really, sort of where my head has been at is with M-Edge or with the Midas markets. And I'll show you why. You're probably like, what do you mean? Why would you look at the Midas markets? Let's go market. Let's do Frontier. Let's actually look at a couple of these Frontier markets. So the Frontier markets are markets that are specifically spun up for stablecoin looping. And they're typically curated by the protocol, which means that you'll have access. Well, I mean, you don't have to look at these ones because they only have $1, but which means you'll typically have access to some of the best and most consistent yields because the protocol is managing, or the protocol is interested in having those yields be positive for their own TVL. They're not sort of letting Euler prime or whatever, Euler yield markets do all the work for the interest rates. They are looking for specific interest rates against specific assets and trying to curate those. So MEdge USDC. USDC on the frontier edge is only at 5%. That's really good. 9% supply rate from PTIUSD yield. That's a 47% leverage yield. Now you might be thinking, if I exit MEdge, then I have to eat a 50 bip fee. And 50 bips times, the exit cost, which would be 10, is like 5%. That's horrible. Yes and no. So one, if you're in the DeFi dojo, this fee gets waived. They will give you they'll just pay it out to you once you close your position. We've already had a few dojo members do this successfully. So go join the dojo, go join the DeFi dojo. But the other thing is, I don't know if they've already released it or they're releasing it very soon. They're releasing a 2-day unstaking period where you have to pay no fee. So they've already shown me the UI. I think they've implemented it, but I couldn't find it on the front end. So all of these minus positions, no one knows this yet, as far as I know, will be exitable without any fee in the very near future, or maybe are already exitable. So like MMEV, you're getting a ton of points, plus 32.5% native APY or ROE, 1.46 million, decent to borrow. So I think they're underappreciated is the way I'll put it. Same for SUSDF. So SUSDF, you have to swap in and out, so you can't just USDC in, USDC out. But SUSDF has really, really good liquidity. Borrow USDC, it's a frontier market, so they're sort of curating this one. $1.2 million of liquidity. You get Falcon Season 1 points, 37% native APY. I like that as well. There's also the piece 13%. Not as good because, it's only 13%. You're not getting any points. I would stick to sort of these ones up here. So that's where my head's at on Euler. That's sort of what I'm looking at. I like the frontier markets. I also like a few of the bigger markets. But if you don't want to do any of the work and you just want it to be done for you, you can do it on IPOR. So IPOR sort of does the leverage for you, has really low fees. So fees relative to Contango are super low, but you can't manage your own leverage. You sort of have to, they do it for you. You one click in, you one click out. And you can sort of see here that they have like a reservoir looping 15% APY. They have leverage SUSDF, which we just talked about, but they're running it through Morpho. They have 11% or 12-ish% and points. You're also getting points there. They also have, that's mostly it. They also have this like USDC Singularity Vault, but I don't even know what that is. It's using Ramses V2. I probably wouldn't touch that. So I like these two, but that's sort of where my focus has been. Oh yeah. So finally, I wanted to show you guys what's going on over at Plume, because there are two major things. One is there's finally liquidity available to borrow on, let's go over to, actually, I have it open already. I know I do. So this is the Morphoblue market. It's a very basic market. They have all of these sort of N assets. These N assets are nest.credit assets. So N credit, N T-bill, N alpha. And you can see the headline APRs over on the Nest website. They definitely need dark mode. But there's a caveat. If you hover over, you can see what the real APY is. You can't see it on the screen. Probably it's too small. But this is only 3%. So they're advertising 10%. They're really only giving you 3%. I've asked them if there's historical APYs because the APYs have been higher before. So I'm wondering if this is just like we're having a bad day or what it is. The basis vault also only doing 2%. So these are not amazingly high yields, but look at the borrow cost. Borrow cost less than 1% on every market except for N alpha. Now, why is N alpha so high? It's because on Merkle, they are paying you to borrow PUSD against N alpha, and they're paying you 10%. So you're getting paid to borrow, you're getting paid to leverage. This is really good. You're also getting paid here as well. You're getting paid 5% to borrow on N basis. Remember, N basis was getting around 2% right now. So you could go on to that Morpho market, which is right here. N basis right here. There's 2.6 million to borrow. You're getting paid 5%. So it's negative 4% to borrow. It's roughly 2% collateral. So I can do that math for you right now. 2% times 10, because you can 10x leverage, minus 9 times, and then we have to do negative 4. That's a 56% APR. And it is likely that N basis will actually increase in yield, not decrease. So I like that one as well. It's kind of like one of these hidden gems that no one really knows about because they don't know how to do the math. They have never gone to Plume chain. So I like that. Also, if you just want to sort of like be an LP provider and not do leverage, you can go over here. You can see that there's like, they're incentivizing. This is not a stablecoin pool, so you can look at it, you can get excited about it, but I'm not going to say nothing. There's also N alpha PUSD. So N alpha is a stablecoin denominated vault from Nest. We already looked at that. 32% APR in incentives. And then And Basis, again, stablecoin denominated vault, 28% in incentives. Both of these are on Rooster. Rooster is a concentrated liquidity pool. It's very similar to Maverick, if you're familiar with from Maverick, from like, I mean, it still exists, but it was bigger sort of in the middle, maybe the beginning of this cycle, or like the end of the bear market. I think that's when Maverick was really big. It hasn't really maintained its footing. So this is what it looks like, right? You have different bins. You can sort of change your shape of your liquidity, be super concentrated right near the tick and less concentrated outwards, or you can be, very much like regular concentrated liquidity. All of your bins are the same size. You can have a wide one. I think it's not clear on Merkle. Usually they have the rules a lot more clarified. I think your APR is dependent upon the volume that you have passed through your liquidity or your fees. And so having thinner liquidity should get you a better APR, but I can't tell you for certain. And so that's just what I would think, right? So you can go provide liquidity there and get a nice like 30% APR. I think it's pretty good. And also there's Spectra. We were looking at Spectra. I like the fixed rate fixed date on staked Bold at 10%, but I also like the pool for Bold. So the pool for Bold earlier today was showing 22% APR. It's just an LP. So you LP, it's showing 31, but 31 is if you get the VE Spectra boost. Without the VE Spectra boost, still 22%, 23%, $1.7 million of liquidity. Spectra is for minnows. Spectra is for like really small dolphins. Spectra is not for whales. And that's fine, right? It's good to have Pendle for whales and it's good to have Spectra for minnows. So if you're like a small user and you like Bold, you can go over here, LP, S Bold, which is stake Bold. So you're also benefiting from the stake Bold benefits, which is like if there's liquidations, you get a huge APR boost. If there's like, airdrops from using Bold, you get a huge APR boost. And you can get 22% APR for while you're doing that. The other cool thing that Liquidity sort of built out is this leaderboard. This leaderboard shows you sort of where you stand and how many sort of points you've accumulated for all of the friendly fork airdrops. There's 20 different friendly forks that are going to give 4% of their FTV as airdrops to Bold. So that's a huge potential airdrop multiplier. And some of these are gigantic, like Felix. I don't think I have Felix up here, but Felix, actually, let's bring up Felix because Felix is another good stablecoin play. Like Felix, like Borrow, there was another one that just recently shut down. They're going to come back up. Asymmetry. Yeah, I liked Asymmetry, but unfortunately they had some sort of weird Oracle thing with one of their BTC collaterals. It was such a cool product though. Luckily, all user funds were fine. No one really got affected. But so Felix is a friendly fork where you can get 12% APR on FEUSD for the stability pools. But if there's any liquidations on Hype, which is an asset that everybody wants, then you get Hype at a severe discount. So I remember like the first day Bold came out, before they relaunched, a lot of people were participating in like the first day when Felix came out, a lot of people jumped into the Felix stability pool. And then we had I forget what it was like, Trump's tariff, the big, huge black swan dive from his tariff announcement. And I had buddies who got like a 25% ROI in Hype. Like they were paid out in Hype at a discounted Hype in one day. It was nuts. So it was really, really good trade there. So if you want to get discounted Hype, if you want to sort of bet on black swans, Liquidity V2 forks and Liquidity V2 stability pools are the way to do that. And if you want to get leverage exposure to those liquidations, then the YTs for like S Bold and Y Bold are a really good way to do that. So that's it, guys. I mean, there's always more. We could always talk about more different stablecoin plays, but I just wanted to show you sort of what I'm looking at, how I'm looking at it, and give you the ability to do some diligence on your own, and hopefully give you some tools so that when you're out sort of like stablecoin hunting or yield hunting, you can do it with a level of confidence and competence. If you want, of course, like discuss these things in real time with what I think is like the most sophisticated and smartest DeFi degens out there, join the DeFi Dojo Discord and come chat. I'm always in there. You can literally just talk to me directly. And that's it. So thank you guys for watching and have a wonderful rest of your